Che bello! Mi piace molto.
Years after the invention of the water clock, the ancient Greeks were still refining watchmaking. And among the many small workshops to emerge in the Alpine nation was a studio opened in 1848 by master watchmaker Louis Brandt. Louis Brandt trained his sons, Louis Paul and César, in the fine craft of watchmaking. Revolutionized their trade, introducing industrial production lines in their new factory in Biel-Bienne. Soon their modern methods became the hallmark of the Swiss watch industry. Classical philosopher Plato is believed to have devised a water-based alarm clock to keep his students on their toes. He added a tube to the water vessel to form a siphon. When the tube was filled, the water would gush into another vessel with a slit, making it whistle like a steaming kettle. Sometimes simple ideas come from great minds.
1894, after the last and ultimate letter in the Greek alphabet, Omega. To complete this transformation in 1903, they renamed the entire company the Omega Watch Company. Louis Paul and César Brandt were remarkable watchmakers, but they were never alone. Throughout time, generations of master watchmakers at Omega have stood on the shoulders of horological history. Today, we invite you to discover the legacy of one of the world's largest watch companies. Omega is not only a pioneer rich in tradition, but also a visionary of tomorrow's watchmaking.
But also devised methods using combustion to measure time, such as candle and incense clocks. The earliest reference to a candle clock is in a poem by Yu Zhangqiu, 1,500 years ago. Such candles were inscribed with hour graduations, marking the passage of time under a constant flame. The most refined of early Chinese clocks was nevertheless water-driven, such as the earliest example of an astronomical clock. It was the first clock in history to have a mechanical chain drive, yet it relied on water as its natural source of power. Devised almost 1,000 years ago by Chinese polymath Su, the clock would demonstrate the apparent movement of the heavenly bodies. Monasteries in medieval Europe were places of pious prayer. Here, monks dedicated their time to mechanical watchmaking to help them time their hours of worship. One of the world's oldest mechanical clocks is that of England's Salisbury Cathedral. Rope hanging weights power the timepiece by the pull of gravity, and a train of gears ensures the energy is released evenly to create a repetitive motion called oscillation, the heartbeat of a clock. Such early barrel clocks marked a seismic shift from measuring time by continuous processes such as the flow of water to the magic of mechanics. Humans could now standardize timekeeping by the day, the hour, the minute, and the second. By the 15th century, watchmakers had become so skilled that they could create small spring-powered clocks where energy was stored when wound by hand. With pocket watches, people no longer had to look to the sun or the local church tower to tell the time. Science guided the next revolution in clockwork innovation. In 1656, Dutch polymath Christian Huygens drew inspiration from astronomer Galileo Galilei, who used swinging pendulums to experiment with measuring time. Christian's pendulum clock was so visionary it remained the
Welcome to the Omega Museum, celebrating the pioneering legacy of Omega watchmaking. Before you venture into our world, we would like to share with you the fascinating story of measuring time throughout history. Time never stops. Time is like a flowing stream. It can race past or seem endless. But time is also constant. It can be measured very accurately by the day, the hour, and the second.
Since the dawn of civilization, humans have measured time by gazing at the sun and the starry night in the heavens above. Seemingly revolving like clockwork across the skies, these heavenly bodies would naturally mark the passage of time. For thousands of years, the Egyptians used the shadow of an obelisk to record and measure the time of day. The Egyptian obelisk evolved into the sundial, combining the apparent movement of the sun across the skies during the day with observations of the stars. The Egyptians divided the day into 24 hours. 12 hours of daytime and 12 hours of night. The ancient Egyptians also used the flow of water to measure time. Some believe the water clock was invented 6,000 years ago in ancient China. But the oldest known example was found in the Temple of Karnak in Upper Egypt and is 3,500 years old. Water clocks cannot tell the time of day, but they are very accurate when measuring elapsed time, like stopwatches of antiquity. A water clock is quite simple. A pot with markings on the inner side, and a hole at the bottom that lets the water flow out. As the water table slowly lowers, lapsed time can be read 300 years. Huygens also built the first working balance ring, a small regulating coil which, along with the balance wheel, improved the precision of pocket watches, an invention that was not to be refined before Abraham Louis Breguet invented the tourbillon in 1801. Christian Huygens then set his mind to creating a nautical timepiece, a daunting challenge that he pursued in vain, and which would occupy timepiece inventors for the next 100 years. The motions of the sea made mechanical clocks less trustworthy than the traditional marine sandals that had been used by European seamen since the 1500s. In 1761, after no less than 47 years of experimentation, an English clockmaker, John Harrison, finally succeeded in creating the world's first seaworthy mechanical timepiece, the H4 marine chronometer. Used for celestial navigation, the clock was so accurate that it could measure a voyage from England to Jamaica within 5 seconds. As generations moved from farmland to factory life, the new age of industrialization required a more regimented workday. Tramways and railway trains needed to run like clockwork. Switzerland